Today we're going to talk about flagging. So the question for flagging is, why bother flagging? And the answer is to easily find something again precisely in the woods. GPS is great for finding a general location while looking at a device. Flagging is great for finding a precise location in a heads-up manner. So how do we flag? Well, the first thing we're going to need is, of course, flagging tape and a Sharpie, and everyone should have that as part of your 24-hour pack. If you ask what color is the best, you ask 4 NJSAR members what color is the best, you're going to get 5 answers. But generally it's agreed that sort of neon colors, bright colors are the best. Orange, pink, yellow, blue. Some people like blue because it shows up really well during the day, but it's hard to see at night. So if you have blue, I'd recommend carrying, in fact, a second color for the day. People also ask, should we carry biodegradable tape? Is that better for the environment? It might be better for the environment. That's debatable. But it's not as bright and visible as regular tape. And during a search, effectiveness is paramount. The best thing you can do for the environment is to tie a slip knot when you tie your flagging tape, and then to pick it up after yourself when you're done if you no longer need it. So how do we tag? How do we flag? Well, the first thing we're going to want to do, since we're generally flagging to mark an area and a location, is we're going to want to mark our tape. So this is why we have a Sharpie. We're going to write on the tape, first of all, the date. We're going to mark our unit number. So we might say something like 2023-423 NJSAR task 3. And then for things like clues, we would want to put a unique identifier. So that would be often the GPS location of the clue, perhaps an identifier for the clue. So someone who sees this tape knows, oh, this was the clue. This wasn't perhaps the other nearby tape that was marking a bump line. And one thing that's really important to remember is that motion is easier to see than color. So when you're looking for something, you want to have it make as much motion as possible. So how do we do this? We tie a long tail on our flagging tape. We tie it at the end of a branch instead of near the trunk, where it's more likely to catch the wind. And if you do this experiment yourself, you'll see that things that are flapping around in the wind are way easier to see. So to make this a little more concrete, I have a few assistants who are going to give some demonstrations of how we flag at NJSAR. So here we have my assistant. We have 2 things tied to the tree. Can you point to the one tied to the trunk? And now point to the one tied hanging out in a branch, really dangling in the wind. Which one is easier to see? Cool. Thanks, assistant. So if you want to mark the corner of a search area, you tie 3 flags because you'll never have 3 flags otherwise, so it's obvious to tell that this is the corner. So here, my very helpful assistant is tying 1 flag. Here comes flag number 2. And flag number 3. Great, let's take a step back and look. So we see we have 3 flags. Clearly notice that this is the corner of a search area. So here my assistant is showing one of the most common things we do with flagging tape, which is marking a trail. You might do this if you have a bump line. You might do this if you need to tag an evac route. So what you do is you hang from the tree, and remember, leave a nice dangling thing that'll flow in the wind, so it'll be easy to spot. So you mark the first one, then you walk along your trail, and you get to a spot where you can see the first one pretty clearly, but you're far enough away that it's worth marking the next spot, and you mark the next spot. And in fact, one good rule of thumb is to make sure that you can see at least 2 going back at all times. That way, if one of them falls off, you don't lose your trail. So here we are marking the next spot, again, leaving a nice dangling tail. In a for real, we would potentially mark these with the date, time, and task number. And there we go. Let's take a look back. Now, can you follow your trail back to where you came from? Where did you come from? Oh, look, we followed it back. Great job, assistant. So here we have my assistant, and she's walking along, and oh, look, she found a clue. Now, she's not going to touch the clue because that's evidence. Instead, what she's going to do is she's going to take 4 pieces of tape and she's going to make a box of tape around the clue to make it obvious where the clue is. Here we go. Number 1. Number 2. Yeah, that's a good place. Remember, leave a dangling tail, so one long, one short. 2. 3. And a 4th one, maybe over here. Yeah, over here. Yeah, just you want to make a nice box so it's easy to see where the clue is. And then in a for real, you get at your Sharpie, you'd mark the date, time, task number, clue number, and the GPS location to make it obvious that this is that clue. Perfect. Thanks, assistant.